In somewhat recent news, it's been alleged that Davante Adams has apparently requested a trade from the Las Vegas Raiders. And this is something that I pretty much saw coming before the year started. It was one of my biggest hot takes that at some point, about midway through the season, it's even before that, it's after the first quarter of the season, he has requested a trade, wanted out. Just makes sense from a lot of standpoints because the only reason he went to Vegas originally was to play with his former teammate, Derek Carr. And obviously, Derek Carr not there anymore. He's with the Saints. So he's in a position where he could help out a lot of teams. I still think Davante Adams could play at a high level. I don't think he's quite in his prime, but I think he's like just outside of it and still would be an instant number one to any team that he went to. So I think there's 6 possible teams that could possibly get him. And I'm going to go through each one of these teams. And then at the end, I'm going to explain which team that I think will land him. But we're going to start with the most obvious team, the Jets. And the reason I think he'd go here is obviously an old running mate in Aaron Rodgers there at the Jets. And the Jets have Garrett Wilson, who is a really solid receiver, although is kind of underwhelmed this year. And that some of that could be because he's been doubled, and that's usually what you would do with a receiver of his talent, because they just don't have a lot of other guys. They have like Mike Williams, Lazard. But if you bring in Davante Adams, that could change a lot of things. That could really improve the team. And also, I think a lot of the pressure right now is on Robert Saleh. If you bring in Davante Adams, I think it cools things down there a little bit because it puts more of the pressure on Aaron Rodgers because now he has the weapons. Now he has more than one really good, capable receiver. So I think the Jets is definitely a spot where he could land. The next team is probably the most unlikely, but still, I've heard rumors of it. The Washington Commanders. This is a team with Jaden Daniels that has looked incredible recently over the past stretch. Cliff Kingsbury, great job doing schemes. I don't love the fit because I think he's gained a lot of chemistry with Terry McLaurin, and I wouldn't hesitate from that because sometimes when you bring in this number one receiver with these young quarterbacks, it gives them pressure to throw them the ball. And I don't know if you want that messing up the flow. So I would say hold back on it, but that's an option. The next team, the New Orleans Saints. And the only reason I specify this is, well, there's probably two. They've been playing pretty well. The other reason is they have Derek Carr, the guy that he wants to play with. He's been known to want to play with Derek Carr. So that's the only reason, in my opinion, that the New Orleans Saints are on the table. Then after that, you go to the Dallas Cowboys, who were the original rumored team. And it makes sense from somewhat of a standpoint because the only receiver that you have that's affecting at a high level is CeeDee Lamb, who's a really good receiver, true proven number one. Problem I have with this, you're going to have 2 guys that think they're number one, causes problems. I don't think this is what Dallas needs. They need more of a better run game, O-lineman. There's other things they need before bringing in this receiver, so I don't think they get it done, but I still think that if you went to the Cowboys, it would be more of a mistake than a great addition for them. And then the next team we have is the Buffalo Bills, and I think this is a great fit there. But you could make the debate that Josh Allen has played really well without Diggs being there, without that number one receiver. He's spreading the ball around a lot. But you saw in that game against the Ravens, didn't have enough firepower, I feel like, didn't have that big play guy. I think Davante Adams could provide them that, so that's why I think Bills are certainly a team that are an option that would make sense for him to sway his way there. And then finally, the team that has won the Super Bowl the previous 2 years, the Kansas City Chiefs, surely have to be a team to keep in mind. Now, I don't know if the Raiders will trade in division. That's something like, personally, if I was a GM, I wouldn't trade in division, but it's definitely possible. It's a possibility. If they give them the right price, I don't know why you wouldn't do it. Because the Raiders are in a rebuild anyway. They're not competing with the Chiefs this year or for the next year, regardless. And if you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, Rashee Rice is probably out for the season. You're kind of down to Worthy. Travis Kelce has regressed pretty substantially. I think this would be a great target for them because if you realistically bring in Davante Adams to this team, I don't know who can beat them. I already don't know if they're going to be beatable without Rashee Rice, and if Worthy's their number one, but it's still going to be tough to get them. You bring in Davante Adams, they could get to like that unbeatable territory when it comes to January. But that's what I think for the teams that are on the running in the table. My personal pick, it just seems like something the Jets would do. It seems like something Rodgers would push for. It seems like something the city of New York that it just seems like that would make the most sense. So if I had to guess and I had to make a super prediction right now, I would say that Davante Adams will be a Jet by the time he's traded. But it's that Bills or Chiefs for me. Those are the big three. But I'm going to predict the Jets, and we'll see what happens.